So when people talk about sales being a revolving door, the reality is it's the person, the individual, that's not taking the opportunity and really maximizing their potential. They're quitting way too early.
Anyone do it?
Oh yeah, I've been in one industry my entire life. Never swayed. I've been in home improvements my entire life.
But is sales for everyone? That's my question.
No,
It's not
no.
for everyone. How do you know if it's, because in that case, like, yeah, you're not in it, but what if Walter is not made for it?
I believe that should be spotted before the sales training. I think that the importance of
How
recruiting.
do you spot it? What are the traits you're looking for?
A great example is using the DISC test.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen DISC?
Yeah.
I've taken DISC every 2 years, and my D and I are through the roof. And it's very obvious that if your D and I are not above that bell curve, you're gonna have a hard time in sales. And over the years of studying business and sales and marketing, I've actually learned that introverts are more successful than extroverts in sales.
True.
I just think it's very much like boxing or maybe a gym or jujitsu where you're just timid to start. And some people don't ever get into it. But remember, I talked about that dark cloud casted over our industry. And my goal is to get that thing out of us and have a shining light on our industry that I'm very proud to be a salesperson. I solve people's problems. And, you know, it's just, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. But to answer your question, no. Sales is not congruent with everybody's personality.
Are you familiar with the leaf filter sales process? What do you think about it? Start all the way high, keep dropping. It's very popular, actually, and they're a huge company. Few other companies do a very similar thing. You start at the highest point, and then you drop, and then at the end, well, if you buy it at $12, I'm not going to get a commission, but I'll let you have it.
Yeah, I don't believe in it. And I believe what you're doing is, I'll back it up a little bit. First thing I always say is the goal is to set up an environment that's conducive to a sale. Set the stage, but set an environment that's conducive to a sale. When you build value and you go through the sales process, you know, homeowners, especially homeowners and consumers, they have a scale before you start in their mind, and the price is way down here, right? And your value or your benefits are way up here. The goal is to change it, that you're going to give them these big stack of benefits for their little stack of money. But when you first start, they're looking at you and saying, I'm not giving you my big stack of money for your little stack of benefits. So the goal is to change that perception. And ultimately, you're building value into you, your company, your product, your installation, your service after the fact. But here's my question. If you build value and you slash the price in half, aren't you discrediting all your work?
Why do they do it?
I believe that, one, it's number psychology. When you see a number that's 30,000 and then you see a number that's 3,000, well, ultimately, if you and I went to lunch and spent $3,000, you'd be like, Brian, you're never allowed back on the podcast ever again. Don't come out here, dude. I don't care. Don't come back. But if we spent $30,000 prior weekend going to Ibiza or having some fun, spending $3,000 for lunch doesn't really seem all that much. And so I think it's a numbers psychology is when they see 18,000 and now you can get it for 9, they're creating price urgency.
Some people also will have a turn off because of that.
I mean, could you imagine going to buy a vehicle and they're like, no, it's
because it tells you, like, did you try to screw me before? So you can do it for 9. Why did you try to get 18?
Yeah. Now I've, how do I say, I'll say this just openly. I've dropped price in the house. How you do it is with credibility. And I exchange the time for money. So for example, if I'm at 18,000, someone's like, hey, Brian, do it for 17,000 and we write the check, we'll put it all to bed. The first thing that I think is you have to be conscious of is that I've done all the work up until that point. If you just skip steps and you lay off price, it's not going to work. But what I love to tell people is, no, I can't do that. Or I can do that if you have a spare bedroom because I'm going to be fired and I'll have to live with you for the next 3 weeks. So no, I can't just take money off. And I like to have fun like that, you know, and I teach my sales guy to do that. That's perfect. If I can sleep in the sauna for the next 3 weeks, I'll do it for 17, but I'm going to be fired. So I want to take it away from people, but I do it with a little bit of humor. And then what I like to do is a justified drop. So what I would explain to someone is that, for example, like years ago, Domino's, they did this case study where they went around, they went to college campuses, they put up this table, this folding table, and they offered free slices. But in order for you to take a free slice as a college kid, you also had to leave them a review, and you had to give them positive and negative feedback. Ultimately, do you know what they found through some of that feedback? Is that they lacked a ton of spices, they lacked a ton of, you know, just flavor, and the boxes were way too small where the cheese would melt on that. So what Domino's did is they revamped, they put different herbs in there, they revamped the pizza, and they made the box much bigger. But that's invaluable information that you're never gonna get from a person that orders a pizza and throws the box away. But if a homeowner like yourself is willing to sacrifice some time and give us negative and positive reviews, I'd be willing to credit you with a marketing incentive. Now, this isn't $1,000, but let me walk you through what we'd have to do. So what I'm doing is I'm teeing up a justified drop, but then I'm giving validity behind it. And then what I do is I come out with a form, I fly a drone, and we do a whole marketing thing, and I can show you on my computer that now I'm going to put you on Instagram. We're going to use your home to market. And if you're willing to go through that and sacrifice time and give us real life feedback from people that are with us every step of the way, not just, yeah, they showed up on time, they were good, real feedback, like how was the crew when they showed up? Did they tarp off all high traffic areas? Did they clean up after themselves? Did they provide a clean and safe work environment? And if you're willing to give honest feedback and not just surface level answers, then I'd be willing to pay you, incentivize you for your feedback. Is that something you'd be up for?
Oh.
Now, what did I just do right there, Dimitri?
You gave me value.
But at the end, I said, would you be up for that?
And some people will, some people won't.
I'm using this as to close with a commitment. That if you're willing to commit and work with us, I'm willing to incentivize you for that real, raw, organic feedback. And then I give them $185 off. And they think it's the best thing since sliced milk. And usually we're at that moment and they're ready to buy. But I'll tell you, real buyers will give you the most resistance right before they go and grab the checkbook.
I can see that. I have, let's wrap it up with this. I have like 7, 8 questions.
Yeah.
What's the most common mistake salespeople make that instantly kills a deal? These are all sales questions.
2 things. 1, they're talking about areas that have nothing to do with the sale. 2, they tend to get very monotoned at the end of the presentation.
Love it. If you could change one thing about sales industry overnight, what that would be and why?
Clean it up. Clean it up. I don't think the high top Jordans are very professional. Seems like every roofer is wearing the high top Jordans. I'm not saying I don't have them in my closet, but I don't wear them to seminars. And I think we need a checkup from the neck up. Sales.
Love it. What's the craziest thing you've done to close a sale, and did it work?
Love it. I was on Olympia Fields, Illinois, and I was in this McMansion, 75 windows. And I'm a year in, I'm the trainer. So they give me the big lead. My mother grew up in this area. R. Kelly had a house next to it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get all 75 of these windows, come back. The other thing too, when I was a sales trainer, I was really on stage. So when I got a lead, I better come back and close it because, like you said, you got a lead from the front. So I meet with Betty Jones, not her name, but it was Betty Jones on the contract. And ultimately, I find really warming up, having a great time.
What do you mean, not her name?
She was giving me a fake name. She
Okay.
was big money. They produce meat.
Okay.
So yeah, interesting lady. But she had a Rolls Royce in the garage. And so for 20 minutes, we're talking about the Rolls Royce. But what we agreed upon, she was a single widow. She had a party coming up. And what we agreed upon is she would do half the windows with me now. We'd do the other half down the road. But I had to drive her. I had to be the driver in the Rolls Royce to drive her to the party.
That day?
No. It was like in a couple of weekends.
I
But
see.
I agreed that I would be the driver to drive her.
Why she needed a driver?
She was just this old rich lady that just wanted this persona. So I said, yeah, no problem. I'll usher you to the party.
Love it. How do you respond to people who say sales is just a numbers game and not about relationships?
I think it's foolish. I think that people buy for two reasons, logic and emotion. But they make the decision, it's an emotional decision, and it's supported by logic. And if the key ingredient is trust, and if you can't build trust with a human being, they're not going to buy from you. I don't care how great of a deal you have. If somebody can't trust and respect that you're going to take care of them and service their account, they'll never buy from you. So I just feel for people that can't go in the house or don't want to go in the house and build a relationship. I've heard a lot of things over the years of don't teach the warm-up and the warm-up's stupid, get right into it. Well, I teach a rolling warm-up where at front, the first couple minutes, I don't expect you to tell me about your life, but when we're with each other for the next 60 to 90 minutes, my goal is to have that person open up and relax a little bit. So I call that the rolling warm-up. And it's just from building relationships and asking questions and eventually getting to that gut level feeling with that person.
Love it. What's the biggest misconception people have about sales that drives you crazy?
Selling is easy. Another one I always love hearing, I heard it over the weekend. You have to love your product in order to sell it.
Do you?
No, but I think it's going to come. We talked about 55% as body language. And if you're selling something that you would never put on your home, you're going to come across it and it'll come through your body language.
Yeah. How can you love your product if you sell some hoses or some freaking engineered material, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, exactly.
some accessories.
But I sold acrylic bathroom surrounds for a couple of years, and I'm not really big on them. But there is a place for them in Chicago. There's value to them, but it's not something that I would put in my home. So I did have a little bit of a kind of a rub with selling something that I wouldn't put in my home. The products I sell now, Owens Corning, Duration, put that on my roof 1,000 times over. Weatherlock G, the underlayment, as far as either Louisiana Pacific or James Hardy. I like Pella and Anderson windows. Those are the products that I would put in my home and I'd be proud to sell. But no, I don't think you have to love the product in order to sell it.
Got it. What's the one piece of advice you'd give anyone who wants to make 6 figures in sales?
Man, be ready to burn at both ends, because there's 2 ways I look at sales. It's either fast and quick. Anybody can make that fast and quick sale, but you're going to be out of the industry even faster. Or you look at this as a career that you can have longevity with. And you might not make a lot of sales up front, but if you have longevity in sales and you do it with integrity, you'll make a career out of it.
Love it. If you could write a book about the sales industry, what would be the title be, and what's the first chapter is about?
Well, I already wrote it. It's not finished.
Okay.
I love it. But
so what's the name and what's the first chapter?
Okay, so I always ask every one of my sales training, when they start, the trainees, I ask them one question when we start. How do you build a brick wall?
Start the foundation.
There it is. So I just say it's brick by brick, one brick at a time. And today we're just going to learn one brick. We're going to put another one next to it. It's going to be brick by brick. So the title of my book is Brick by Brick by Brian Malone. And it's not how to make a sale, but how to build a sales career. And the first chapter is it's the basics, the fundamentals. Things like I have little sayings. You've heard of ABC.
Yeah.
What's that?
Always be closing.
Right. I've changed it. Mine is always be confident.
Okay.
So little
Makes
things
sense.
like that, having just the basics showing. And I always like stories. So I'll have a little story, not about myself, but just a story of a person in
To support
selling.
it, yeah.
Yeah.